The chill of a late December evening wrapped around me like an old, familiar blanket as I stepped into the kitchen, the wooden floor creaking softly under my boots. Snowflakes clung to my coat, melting into tiny droplets that dripped onto the linoleum, creating a faint pattering sound that echoed in the quiet house. The air was thick with the scent of cinnamon and vanilla, warm and inviting, cutting through the crisp cold I'd brought in from outside. I could feel the heat radiating from the oven, a gentle wave that thawed my numb fingers as I peeled off my gloves. Mom was there, her apron dusted with flour, her hands moving with that effortless grace she'd always had, rolling out dough on the counter. The light from the single bulb overhead cast a golden glow on her face, highlighting the soft lines around her eyes, lines that spoke of years filled with laughter and quiet worries. "You're just in time, honey," she said, her voice warm like hot cocoa, with that slight lilt that always made her words feel like a hug. I leaned against the doorframe, inhaling deeply, the buttery aroma mingling with the sharp tang of fresh lemon zest she'd grated earlier. It was our tradition, baking Christmas cookies together, a ritual that started when I was barely tall enough to reach the counter. I remember that first time so vividly back when I was about 7 years old. The house smelled of pine from the tree we'd dragged in from the lot down the street, its needles scattering like green confetti on the living room rug. Outside, the wind howled, rattling the windows, but inside, the kitchen was a sanctuary of warmth. Mom had tied a little apron around my waist, one that matched hers, and her hands guided mine as we pressed cookie cutters into the soft dough. The metal edges were cool against my palms, and the dough yielded with a satisfying squish, releasing bursts of sugary scent. "See, like this," she whispered, her breath tickling my ear, and I giggled, feeling the joy bubble up inside me like fizzy soda. The oven hummed steadily, a low, comforting rumble, and when we slid the trays in, the heat whooshed out, flushing my cheeks. We sat on the stools, waiting, the timer ticking away the minutes, each click building anticipation. The smell grew stronger, evolving from raw sweetness to something golden and baked, filling every corner of the room. When the timer dinged, sharp and insistent, Mom pulled out the tray, the cookies steaming, their edges perfectly browned. She let me decorate them, my small fingers dipping into bowls of icing, red like cherries, green like holly leaves, and sprinkling colored sugars that crunched under my touch. The taste, oh, that first bite was magic, warm, crumbly, with a burst of vanilla that melted on my tongue, making my eyes close in pure delight. Mom watched me, her smile soft, her hand ruffling my hair, and in that moment, everything felt right in the world. As the years went by, those baking sessions became more than just cookies. They were threads weaving through the fabric of our lives. I was 10 when Dad left, the door slamming behind him on a stormy Christmas Eve, the sound echoing like thunder through the house. The wind outside whipped snow against the panes, creating a white veil that blurred the world beyond. Inside, the air felt heavier, charged with unspoken sadness. Mom didn't cry in front of me, but I could see the way her shoulders slumped, feel the cool dampness of her cheeks when she hugged me goodnight. That year, we baked extra batches, the kitchen filled with the rhythmic clatter of mixing bowls and the sizzle of butter in the pan. The warmth from the stove chased away the chill that had seeped into our home, and as we shaped the dough into stars and trees, Mom's voice trembled a little as she sang carols, her words wrapping around me like a protective cocoon. "Silent night, holy night," she murmured, and I joined in, our voices blending, soft and tentative at first, then stronger, pushing back the loneliness. The cookies that year tasted a bit salter, perhaps from the tears we both pretended not to shed, but they were laced with resilience, each bite a reminder that we had each other. The flickering candlelight on the table danced shadows across the walls, and the scent of nutmeg lingered on our clothes long after we'd cleaned up, a comforting ghost that followed me to bed. By the time I was a teenager, rebellious and full of that restless energy that made me push against everything familiar, the cookie tradition felt like an anchor I both resented and craved. The house was quieter then, with Mom working longer hours at the diner, her feet aching from standing all day, the faint smell of grease clinging to her uniform when she came home. One December afternoon, snow falling in thick, lazy flakes outside, blanketing the yard in a hush, I stormed in after a fight with friends, slamming cabinets and muttering under my breath. The cold air I'd tracked in clashed with the kitchen's warmth, creating wisps of steam that rose from the floor. Mom didn't scold. Instead, she pulled out the flour and sugar, her movements deliberate, the soft thud of ingredients hitting the counter pulling me in despite myself. "Help me, won't you?" she asked, her tone gentle, not demanding, and I relented, my hands sinking into the dough, the cool, sticky texture grounding me. The aroma built slowly, first the sharp bite of ginger, then the mellow sweetness of molasses, as we worked side by side. We talked then, really talked, about school, about dreams, about the ache of growing up. Her laughter, light and tinkling like bells, filled the space, and the oven's heat wrapped us in a bubble where worries melted away. Those cookies, chewy and spiced, became confessions, each one shared over milk that was cold and creamy, sliding down my throat and cooling the fire inside me. Adulthood brought its own changes, pulling me away to college in a bustling city where Christmas lights twinkled on skyscrapers and the air smelled of exhaust rather than fresh snow. The first year away, I called home on Christmas Eve, the phone line crackling with distance, Mom's voice tinny but warm. "I'm baking our cookies," she said, and I could almost smell them through the receiver. The buttery richness, the hint of clove that always made my mouth water. Loneliness hit me then, sharp as the winter wind whistling through my dorm window, the room feeling too empty, too cold without her. I imagined her in our kitchen, the fluorescent light buzzing faintly, her hands dusted white, the oven door creaking open to reveal golden treats. When I came home for break, the house welcomed me with that same scent, pulling me straight to her arms. The hug was tight, her body frilier than I remembered, but the emotion surged, gratitude, love, a pang of guilt for being gone. We baked together that night, the snow outside muffling the world, the only sounds our shared stories and the soft pop of cookies cooling on the rack. Each bite was a homecoming, sweet and nostalgic, evoking every Christmas past. But time marches on, relentless as the seasons, and eventually, Mom's health began to fade. It started subtly, a cough that lingered through the fall, her steps slower on the stairs, the creak of wood louder under her weight. That last Christmas, the air in the house felt thicker, laced with the metallic tang of medicine bottles on the counter. Outside, a blizzard raged, winds howling like mournful wolves, piling snow against the doors. Inside, the kitchen was our haven, the oven's warmth battling the chill that seeped through the cracks. Mom insisted on baking, her hands trembling slightly as she measured ingredients, the clink of spoons against bowls of fragile melody. I took over more, my fingers steady where hers faltered, but she guided me still, her voice soft, laced with effort. The smells enveloped us, cinnamon swirling with vanilla, the sharp zest of orange peel we'd added for a twist. We sat by the window, watching snowflakes dance in the streetlight's glow, the cookies warm in our hands, crumbling softly as we ate. "These will always be our magic," she whispered, her eyes misty, and I felt a lump in my throat, the heat of unshed tears behind my eyes. The touch of her hand on mine was cool, papery, but full of enduring love. Now, years later, with Mom gone, the kitchen feels echoingly empty, the floorboards still creaking, but without her answering steps. Every December, I pull out her old recipe card, yellowed and stained, the handwriting faded but familiar. The air grows warm as I preheat the oven, the hum a ghostly companion. I measure the flour, feeling its powdery softness sift through my fingers, and the scents build, butter melting, sugar dissolving, spices awakening. When the cookies bake, the aroma floods the house, pulling memories from the depths. Her laughter, her hugs, the way her presence made everything brighter. I take a bite, the warmth spreading through me, but it's bittersweet now, tears welling up unbidden. They taste of joy and loss, of love that time can't erase. That's why my mom's Christmas cookies will always make me cry. They're a bridge to her, a sensory echo of the heart she poured into every batch. The holidays have a way of amplifying everything, the joy sharper, the sorrow deeper, like echoes in a vast snow-covered valley. After Mom passed, the first Christmas without her was a blur of gray skies and hollow routines. The wind outside my window whistled mournfully, carrying flurries that tapped against the glass like impatient fingers. I avoided the kitchen for weeks, the thought of baking alone twisting my gut with a cold ache. But one evening as dusk settled, painting the room in soft twilight blues, a craving hit me, pulling me toward the pantry. My hands shook as I gathered ingredients, the clatter of bowls on the counter loud in the silence. The flour dusted the air, creating a fine mist that tickled my nose, and as I creamed the butter and sugar, the sweet, creamy scent began to rise, tentative at first, then insistent. It wrapped around me, warm and familiar, stirring emotions I'd buried deep. Tears blurred my vision as I rolled the dough, the cool surface sticking slightly to the pin, and when I slid the tray into the oven, the heat washed over my face like a sigh. The timer ticked, each second a heartbeat, and when it rang, I pulled out the cookies, their golden edges perfect, steam rising in lazy curls. The first bite was a floodgate, crumbly texture giving way to vanilla sweetness, but laced with salt from my tears. I sat there, the chair hard beneath me, the room dimly lit by a single lamp, feeling her presence in every sensation, a bittersweet comfort that made the loneliness bearable. Friends tried to help, inviting me to their gatherings, where laughter rang out and lights twinkled like stars. One year, I went to Sarah's house, the air buzzing with chatter and the clink of glasses. The scent of roasted turkey mingled with pine from the tree, but beneath it all, I missed Mom's cookies. Sarah noticed my quietness, her hand warm on my shoulder, and later, she shared her own story of loss, her voice soft amid the holiday din. It helped, that connection, the shared warmth of empathy thawing the ice around my heart. But back home, in the quiet, I baked again, the ritual becoming my solace. The snow outside fell softly, muffling the world, while inside, the oven's glow cast dancing shadows. Each cookie was a memory. The way Mom's eyes lit up when I praised her baking, the soft fabric of her apron against my cheek during hugs, the laughter that bubbled up over burnt batches we'd eat anyway. As time healed some wounds, I started sharing the cookies with others, turning grief into something shared. I remember taking a tin to the nursing home where Mom had volunteered, the air there thick with antiseptic and faint echoes of holiday music from a radio. The residents' faces lit up as I opened the lid, the cinnamon scent wafting out, their wrinkled hands reaching for the treats with trembling eagerness. "These remind me of my grandmother's," one elderly woman said, her voice quavering, eyes distant with nostalgia. We sat in the common room, chairs arranged in a circle, the fluorescent lights harsh but the atmosphere softened by stories. The cookies crumbled on plates, crumbs scattering like snow, and as they ate, emotions flickered, smiles, tears, sighs of remembrance. The warmth spread, not just from the treats but from the connections forged, each bite bridging generations. Outside, twilight deepened, the cold pressing against the windows, but inside, it felt like a piece of Mom was there, her love baked into every morsel. Children entered my life through my niece and nephew, their energy a whirlwind that chased away shadows. The first time I baked with them, the kitchen came alive again, their small hands plunging into dough, flour puffing up in clouds that made them sneeze and giggle. The air filled with high-pitched laughter and the sticky slap of dough on the counter. "Auntie, it smells like magic," little Emma exclaimed, her cheeks smeared with icing, the sweet scent clinging to her like perfume. We decorated under the warm kitchen light, sprinkles crunching underfoot, the oven humming contentedly. The cold December rain pattered against the roof, but we were cocooned in warmth, their excitement infectious. When we tasted the cookies, warm and gooey, their eyes widened in delight, and I felt a surge of joy mixed with that familiar pang. Mom would have loved this, her spirit alive in their wonder. The tradition evolved, but the core remained, sensory magic that evoked emotion, binding us across time. Even now, as I stand in my kitchen, the cycle continues. The frost patterns on the window pane catch the morning light, sparkling like diamonds, while outside, birds chirp faintly in the bare trees. I measure ingredients by feel, the sugar granules rough against my skin, the butter softening in my hands. The mixer whirs, a steady drone that builds anticipation, and as the dough comes together, the scents layer, vanilla's smoothness, cinnamon spice, a hint of nutmeg for depth. Rolling it out, the pin smooth and cool, I cut shapes. Hearts for love, stars for dreams, trees for enduring roots. The oven preheats with a click, heat building gradually, and when the cookies bake, the aroma permeates everything, drawing neighbors to knock, their voices muffled through the door. Sharing them over coffee, steam rising in curls, conversations flow, laced with holiday cheer and quiet reflections. Each cookie carries Mom's legacy, a tangible piece of her that makes me tear up, not just from sadness, but from overwhelming gratitude. But the deepest emotions surface when I'm alone, late at night, the house silent save for the tick of the clock. I bite into a cookie, the crunch giving way to softness, flavors exploding, sweet, spicy, buttery, and memories flood. Mom's gentle touch, her voice singing carols, the way her presence made Christmas enchanted. Tears come then, hot trails down my cheeks, mixing salt with sugar, a poignant reminder that love lingers in the senses, eternal and evocative. Seasons turned, and with them, my life wove new threads into the tapestry of those cookie memories. I met Alex during a snowy winter fair, the air crisp with the scent of mulled wine and roasted chestnuts, lights strung overhead twinkling like captured stars. We bonded over shared stories of holiday traditions, his voice deep and warm, cutting through the chatter of the crowd. When I brought him home that first Christmas, the house felt alive again, his laughter echoing off the walls as we baked together. His hands, strong and steady, helped roll the dough, the cool surface yielding under our combined pressure. The kitchen filled with familiar aromas, but now layered with his cologne, a woody, fresh note that mingled intriguingly with the cinnamon. "Your mom must have been amazing," he said softly, tasting a cookie, his eyes meeting mine with understanding. The warmth from the oven mirrored the glow in my chest, and as snow fell outside, blanketing the world in quiet, we shared bites, emotions swelling, joy for the present, tenderness for the past. Those cookies became our bridge, each one a step toward building new memories while honoring old ones. Parenthood brought its own magic, our daughter Lily arriving in the spring, but her first Christmas was a symphony of sensations. The house smelled of pine and baby powder, her tiny coos blending with the carols playing softly on the radio. I baked with her strapped to my chest, feeling her warmth against me, her small breaths syncing with mine. The dough was softer that year, perhaps from the humidity of a mild winter, sticking to my fingers as I shaped it. Alex helped, his touch gentle, the clink of cutters against the counter a rhythmic lullaby. When the cookies emerged from the oven, golden and fragrant, Lily's eyes widened, her chubby hands reaching out. We let her gum a soft piece, her delighted gurgles filling the room, and in that moment, the cycle felt complete, Mom's love passed down, evoking tears of profound connection. The fire crackled in the hearth, casting flickering light that danced across our faces, the air toasty and inviting. Challenges came, as they do, testing the resilience baked into those traditions. One year, a storm knocked out power on Christmas Eve, the wind howling ferociously, branches scraping against the roof like claws. The house plunged into darkness, the sudden chill creeping in as the heat faded. We gathered in the kitchen by candlelight, flames wavering and casting long shadows, the scent of wax mixing with the residual warmth from earlier baking. Using the gas stove, we mixed dough by hand, the process slower, more intimate, our breaths visible in the cold air. The cookies baked unevenly, but their aroma still bloomed, defiant against the outage. Huddled under blankets, we ate them warm from the tray, the sweetness cutting through the bitterness of the night. Lily clung to me, her body a small heater, and Alex's stories kept us laughing, emotions swirling, fear giving way to gratitude, the cookies a beacon of normalcy. As Lily grew, she took over parts of the baking, her enthusiasm mirroring my childhood self. At 5, she stood on a stool, apron tied high, her hands plunging into flour with glee, puffs rising like snowstorms in miniature. The kitchen buzzed with her questions. "Why does it smell so good, Mommy?" Her voice high and curious. We described everything, the silky feel of butter, the sharp crack of eggshells, the gentle hiss of dough in the oven. Outside, frost-etched patterns on the windows, the cold pressing close, but inside warmth reigned. The cookies that year were decorated with wild abandon, icing dripping, sprinkles everywhere, crunching underfoot. Tasting them, her eyes sparkled, and I felt Mom's presence keenly, a swell of emotion that brought quiet tears amid the joy. Grandparents now, with Lily's children visiting, the house overflows with life. Little feet patter on the floor, laughter ringing like bells, the air thick with multiple scents, cookies baking, hot chocolate simmering, pine from the tree. We bake in shifts, hands of all sizes working together, the dough passed around like a cherished heirloom. The oven door creaks open repeatedly, heat waves rolling out, cookies emerging in batches. Stories flow, mine of Mom, Alex's of his family, Lily's of her first tastes. Emotions layer, nostalgia, love, a touch of melancholy for those gone. Each bite evokes it all, tears inevitable but welcome, a testament to enduring bonds. Through it all, the cookies remain, their sensory power undimmed. In quiet moments, I sit by the window, snow falling softly, a cookie in hand. The crunch, the melt, the flavors, they transport me, making me cry for the beauty of what was, and what continues.